Hi, this is Geoff Tate, and you're watching The Metal Voice.
Welcome to another edition of The Metal Voice, and we got a very special guest today.
The legend.
The one and only
Geoff Tate.
From Operation Mindcrime these days.
Yes, that's correct.
Alright, and we got the new album, a concept album.
The Key.
The Key?
Yep. And Geoff, I'm very excited about this album. I just heard it. I think it's fascinating. You're pushing the boundaries, my friend. You're pushing the boundaries.
You know, when you write a concept record, it definitely gives you the opportunity to do some different things than you normally would with a record of like standalone songs, because you're telling a story. So and stories aren't static; they're very dynamic, and there's lots of different moods you can explore. With any given story. So yeah, I like that. I like variance and variety in the musical direction.
No stranger to concept albums, of course, with Operation Mindcrime. Voted on our friend Martin Popoff's book of the 500 top metal albums of all time, coming in at number 7. Is there any challenge, or is it's a daunting task? You've done other concept albums since, but that's such a popular album. Do you go in with any trepidation when you start writing concept albums?
I go into it with the single purpose of writing an entertaining story that's interesting, and then the challenge of matching music to that story so that the listener is transported along a musical route, an emotional route.
A 30-second overview, a summary of the Key, just so people get a taste of what the album's about.
I don't think I can do that in 30 seconds.
It is.
All right, 30 minutes. Let's go.
It is a trilogy, after all, Jim.
I can tell you that it's a 3-album story.
Yeah.
A story that takes 3 albums to tell. And the first album, The Key, is a introduction to the story. It's where we meet the 4 characters that are involved with the storyline, and it develops a bit of the story in the first album, and then of course the second and the third, it takes it and runs with the storyline, and you find out more as you go along.
A lot of people are asking me, so Jimmy, what does this album sound like? And I can't put my finger on it. It doesn't sound like any of the Queensryche albums or your solo albums. It really goes into another direction altogether. But what would you say the musical direction, or the label, I don't want to say label, but what would you say the musical direction is on this album?
Well, I would say that it's always difficult to categorize music, and describe it. It's best, experienced on one's own, I think. I can tell you what the mindset going into it was
Sure.
really to concentrate and focus on what our collective musical influences are and what we're interested in exploring together, the group of writers who wrote this with me. We all come from, I guess what would be classified more as a prog rock background, and so we were really interested in exploring the musicality of that and what that offers. And to me, what that means is, interesting inversions on chord progressions that we've heard before. A real concentration on melody, and rhythmatically, it's very fun with this type of presentation, because you can really get outside and explore different rhythm structures and expand on that if you have the players that can play that kind of stuff.
Yep.
So we really just focused on telling the story musically, really, and then kind of getting into the musicality of that and what that could mean if we kept our minds open to exploring song structure and melody.
I And Geoff, going back in history now, like when you guys first began, I was reading Twisted Sister's book. How did you feel about opening up for Twisted Sister at the time?
Well, see if I can remember back that far. That was like in the beginning of, I think, time.
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't really aware of Twisted Sister at the time, so it was kind of an eye-opening experience, sharing the stage with these very tall New York guys who wore really elaborate, makeup, and hair and costumes and everything. It was quite a eye-opening experience, really. But they had a really cool presentation, and they were a very seasoned band that played a lot of shows, and I learned a lot from them as far as stagecraft and just the way they handled themselves on stage. In fact, the whole learning experience of opening up for other bands when you're a young band is a really cool thing. You pick up a lot of information, and some people that you meet along the way are very open to sharing their philosophy and their mindset, their way of doing things. Like Ronnie Dio, for example, was a guy that was very helpful, in the beginning stages of the Queensryche career, giving us advice and helping us out. And he was a very, very giving person.
What about The Warning? Your first real album, right? Your first full-length album. I know that you're over budget. When you look back now, you're scribbling, at least from what I've read, you're scribbling the lyrics in the studio, trying to get it done because it was over budget. Do you look back now at The Warning and say, man, I wish I would have done it differently, or it's great how it is?
Well, no, it's not. It was a real disappointment to everybody in the band at the time, because of course it was taken out of our hands and mixed by somebody who didn't care about it and didn't want the input of the band when mixing. So that was quite a shocking experience. But I think that the mix of that record definitely could be, I hate to use the terms better or worse when describing music, but the mix could have been more in line with what the collective vision was at the time, rather than an outsider coming in and just hearing it for the first time and throwing it down and putting the faders up and saying, okay, it's done.
Yeah.
But that's one of those lessons you learn as a young band, is run a tight ship.
Here's a fan question. It's an interesting one. What are you saying in the middle of Roads to Madness? That's from Jay.
That's kind of strange. I wrote that, what I'm saying in there, on a scrap of paper in the studio while I was doing it, and then walked away from the microphone and the music stand and never picked up the paper again, and so it's lost. Don't know what's going on there.
You're constantly pushing the boundaries. I mean, you went from The Warning and the kind of grouped into the American Iron Maiden kind of feel, and this album took everybody by surprise. This was a complete left turn when that came out.
Which one?
Rage for Order.
Oh, I love Rage for Order. It's my favorite album.
With the key.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites too. That album was where I felt that's where we were really starting to define our music. We were becoming our own thing, where previously we'd been really wearing our influences kind of out in the open, and we weren't that original, at that before that. And Rage for Order is where we really found ourselves.
Agreed.
We found what it was, our philosophy, and the idea of no limits, and not worrying about expectations of other people, that kind of thing, but just following an artistic direction that you feel in your heart. That's one of the things I love about music, is it's a big puzzle, like a crossword puzzle. You might start with one word, and then it builds on top of that, and that's exactly what music is. You start with a chord progression or a rhythm, and then you build it from there, and you start putting all these pieces together till you have the end thing, and you never know where you're going to. You hope you have an outcome, but you don't know how you're going to get there.
Yeah.
A friend of mine sent me a videotape of, or I don't know what you call it these days, but a file that had film footage of studio at Morin Heights.
Yeah.
Right.
And I couldn't believe it. It's all derelict and vandalized and empty.
Destroyed.
You know, it's funny because the last time I saw that place was the day I left the studio, and you know, it was a full operational studio, all high tech and kind of NASA looking, you know, with all these control panels and everything. And now it's just this empty shell. It's such a sad thing.
They're trying to make it into a museum, get some funds. A fellow is raising funds to try to get it at least restored. But it's really in bad shape, and nothing but huge artists have recorded there over the years.
What are your fondest memories there, Geoff?
Oh, it was a wonderful studio to work in. Yeah, it was. Well, first and foremost, it was just so high tech. They had every latest thing you could want, as far as gear and equipment, that kind of thing. And they had a very professional staff, great people that worked there that were really into music, and the accommodations were just top notch and comfortable. When I was there, it was winter and snowing, and there's a ski resort right nearby that went skiing every morning before the studio sessions started. Got some exercise,
Yeah.
And, man, it was just beautiful looking out the window at the lake, and it was all covered in snow and ice and icicles hanging down, and inside it's all cozy and warm, and it was a very creative atmosphere, but to put it mildly.
Yeah.
And that's why a lot of people work there. It was just a vibe that you wanted to stay in.
And you still have friends here and fond memories of Montreal, of course.
Oh, I do. Yeah, Montreal is a wonderful city. Yeah, that very inspirational place. I think that a lot of the Mindcrime story was written in Montreal.
What parts of Operation Mindcrime, was based in Montreal?
Well, the whole storyline came from my time I spent in Montreal. I used to go to this little club on Saint Denis called Saint Sulpice.
Okay.
I don't know if it's still there or not, but at the time it was kind of this kind of dark, dingy little place that had good drinks, and the clientele was kind of a mix of all these different kinds of people, and that's where I met some of the people that became characters in my story there at that place, and that's where I used to spend all my time, was at that bar.
Yeah, and what about Dr. X?
The man with the cure.
Where did he come from?
You get a lot of good ideas sitting in bars.
Definitely.
His character came from the guy that I met at that particular place, the Saint Sulpice.
That's fascinating. And
Yeah.
Sister Mary?
Sister Mary was kind of a composite of a couple of different characters I met. One was in Montreal, and the other one was in Amsterdam.
Oh, okay.
And I kind of put her character together from a composite of those two people.
What about part 2? Was that still in Montreal?
No, I wrote that over the years, actually, in kind of pieces. I started it after the original Mindcrime. I started the story and continued it for a bit, and then got distracted doing other records, and then it took a few years to kind of come back to it,
Wow.
So now, how's the tour going to work? It's both albums will be released by the time the tour starts, or it'll be just this one?
Yeah, the albums are being released 9 to 12 months apart, I believe.
Okay.
So, the first one will be out September 18th, and then the next one comes out the following September, I believe.
And what can we expect with a kind of a set list or something? What kind of song would it be?
Yeah.
Are you going to be performing the whole album like you've done in the past with Operation Mindcrime 1 and 2? Is there something, or is it just a surprise?
Yeah, I plan on playing the entire album.
Okay.
And then probably, bookending the new album with, songs from my past. I got a lot of stuff to choose from.
Definitely.
So probably change it up a little bit here and there to accommodate, variety in the song choices. Honestly, I haven't thought exactly yet that far ahead.
Oh, yeah. Well, there you have it.
There you have it.
Geoff Tate, the legend.
Back stronger than ever with
The Key.
Operation Mindcrime and The Key, the first of a trilogy of concept albums Go out, check it out. It's a great listen, and you won't be disappointed.
Thanks, Geoff, for being
Thanks,
on the show.
Geoff.
Thank you, guys. Enjoy talking with you.